facing head-on the emotions beneath the surface as we bridge from an old world of confusion and lack to a beautiful new world of freedom, abundance, and love with straightforward truth and inspired hope is what you'll find on The Charla Anderson Show. Collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating. Here's your host, Charla Anderson.
Well, good, beautiful day, you beautiful, beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of The Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating, especially you. Thankful that you would join us today. We're on winwinwomen.com and .tv platforms. It's an incredible platform, and we're looking for hosts because she's got a dream to go, touch every woman on the planet with information. So if you have a desire to share your message globally, let's talk, because I love this platform, Win Win Women. And of course, we're also on podcast with Podetize, just spreading the word, spreading joy, spreading love and light and hope, primarily on my show. That's what I'm doing here. And I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today. I can't wait to introduce you to Lauren Fisher. However, I'm going to do a little bit of my breathing exercise to get us centered. 22-second mini vacation. We're just going to take 7 seconds breathing in calm. We're going to hold for 4 seconds, and we're going to breathe out 11 seconds of gratitude. I do this every show. It helps me get centered, and I believe it can't hurt anybody to be getting, taking some deep breaths and taking a split second away from these devices that we're all on, right? So let's take a deep breath, breathing in calm. Here we go. Hold. Release. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for joining me with that. I do believe we've got an opportunity it raises the vibration of our area, and which always, in my estimation, raises the vibration of the world. So I'm so incredibly grateful that you would take the time out of your busy day, your busy week, and take a listen. And I want to introduce you to Lauren Fisher. I tell you, we were just, reviewing the time we met was like the very last week of February 2020. And if you recognize that time frame, it was an interesting time, right? Before we were the last hurrah, the last event, and we were all gathered in California with Jake Ballantyne. So Lauren Fisher, welcome to my show. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being my guest and for sharing just a lot about who you are in this world. And then we'll talk about what you do. So let's, review how we met and where we're headed with this.
Hey, Charla, thank you so much for having me here and inviting me and all the great Win-Win Women and other observers watching this live stream, whether it's recorded or live. I'm just so grateful and honored. So thank you. Yes, we met in Pasadena, California, right before the world was shutting down. We didn't know what was going on. We were hearing all these rumblings, wondering if we're going to get home on airplanes and what was going on. But we met. We'll talk about this more later, but this is just another example, and it'll all tie in, of allowing what comes into your life and paying attention and, going with your intuition. Because if I didn't go with my intuition that event was right for me, I wouldn't have met you. And I wouldn't have met all the other wonderful people that were there at that event. And I think today more than ever, it is so important to be connected with like-minded people, but also people who are so like-minded in the respect of your goals, your dreams, your values, but also people that are doing different things than you, so you can stretch and reach and be inspired. And so I'm so happy that we met. And then at the time, I was living in New York State and it was February. So I moved to Dallas, Texas, about an hour, a little less than an hour from you, almost a year later. None of this was planned. Everything I see and experience today, none of this was on my radar back in February 2020.
You said you were applying for you've got a corporate job. So you were applying at different places and you'd never considered Dallas. And
no, and the interesting thing was it was February when we met. I didn't start applying for jobs until I think it was about August, September. So it was quite a while later. I just knew. So when I went to this personal development seminar with you and all these other fabulous people, I was very inspired. I knew I wanted more. I knew I wanted something different. I knew I wanted to grow. I didn't know what that looked like. Where do I start? What do I want? How do I do this? And to be honest with you, I didn't realize intrinsically how available that was to me. I thought I had to be lucky. I thought I had to have a college degree because I don't have one. How do I compete? All those self-limiting beliefs would creep in. And that's why one of the reasons I was at that personal development seminar too, right? To reestablish and to really soak in my goals, be inspired by other people, and really connect with myself and bring more self-awareness and really think about who am I? Who am I today? What do I want? What do I want for my future? And it doesn't have to be so rigid and solid. So, but at the time, I was trying to control everything.
well, so can I ask, so that event, by the way,
Yes.
it became holy. I mean, it was like Holy Spirit or something came into that group, and it was a great group that Jake Valentine had brought together. How did you find that group? Because you were asking me.
Yes.
And I had been to an event earlier that week. And the reason it's important is because the people we met Shantae, who's a show host on this platform as well, right?
Yeah.
And several amazing human beings. Every one of them were, and they were so diverse. But we said yes. So intriguing opportunities present themselves, and you say yes, things show up, right?
And it's amazing who you meet along the way. You meet who you need to meet, right? And so a year prior, Jake had the same event in LA, and I went to that. But prior to that, so I stumbled across Jake on Facebook, the speakers, authors, and coaches group. And at the time, I think he had about 500 or less people in his group. And so today, Jake has probably 13,000 or more in his group. Whether it was the 500 or the 13,000, he's very engaging with his group. So that's important to know. So we were very engaged, and I was also involved with the Jack Canfield community, doing the 1 Day to Greatness, doing Breakthrough to Success, his week-long. I'm a certified Jack Canfield trainer. I've done his training programs, masterminds. I was heavily involved. And I've met so many people through that. So I met Jake stumbling across the speakers, authors, and coaches. And then we both attended a week-long Breakthrough to Success of Jack Canfield. So we were now we were able to meet in person. I think we had known each other 6 months to a year. Now we met in person. So naturally, when he had an event, of course, I was going to be there because he's so inspirational. And, who you spend time with matters, right? And like attracts like. Also, my friend Jackie Book, one of my best friends, is in Santa Barbara. So I said, hey, you got to come with me to this event. And Jenna Edwards, who's co-author of the Women Who Inspire book, along with me and several other women, she lives out there. I'm like, hey, you got to come along with me to this event, because I knew, really shouldn't tell people what to do, but I knew it would resonate with them too. And the amount of people we met, Cynthia Wellbrock, I'm still very close friends with her today. I mean, I've made some lifelong friendships. Tony Watley and Lisa Watley, his wife. I mean, so many inspiring people. And these are givers. These are people that they want to see you win. They want to see you succeed. We're not competing with each other. And I think that's important. So in Jake's first event, I was so lost. And although I was on this personal development journey and I was already immersed, I was still stuck with a few things in my job and in my personal life and relationships. So then fast forward a year, that was dramatically different. I was in an 18-year relationship. Now I was single when I came to a second one. And I was a corporate trainer for 12 and a half years or so. And I trained over 500 people in this Fortune 500 company, which I'm still with today. I'm in sales now. And, but I was on the road so much. I was on the road. My management had changed. So now I was on the road 3 weeks a month straight in hotel rooms. And my kids were grown and flown. And I was living in New York State, traveling all throughout the Northeast, which is beautiful. A lot of wonderful people, but I was freezing. I was cold. And I thought, I need to go to grow. And I was afraid. I was afraid to make a change. So as things became more uncomfortable for me and I became more frustrated, I realized it was God saying to me, Lauren, you don't belong here. You don't belong here. It was like confirmation. And sometimes it's just so easy to stay in the discomfort because you know what to expect. You might not like it. You might not enjoy it, but it's something you live every day and you know how to handle it. So actually, I was on the phone with Shantae and we were both in a similar spot where we didn't know where life was going to take us, but we knew we wanted more. We knew we wanted to grow. And I said, I'm going to adopt the word allow. Everybody has this word of the year, but here it is July. And I'm going to adopt the word allow because I was trying to control everything in my life. And I wasn't allowing God to take control. That's the country song, Jesus Take the Wheel. Like I was trying to, try to drive while you're putting on the brakes, right? That's what I was doing. And what's interesting, I was limiting myself. What I wanted was this big. What God has for me is this big or greater. So I was capping myself too. So it's easy to allow when things are going your way and all these great things are happening. But how do you allow when you don't get the job that you want, when you don't get the relationship that you want, when your friends disappoint you or your families disappoint you, or, these things just, everything's falling through the cracks and
life happens. Life keeps lifing, and how we react is everything. And so what I've learned, and I think you're learning or have learned, relax, release it. I call it lay it at his feet.
Yeah.
And just be. And because where we are is all we got anyway. We don't have last second. We only have this second. And if we only could realize that we can't change one thing from last second, last week, last generation, last century, we can't change anything that brought us to this moment in time, except the next step, the next word we speak.
You are so right.
So what if we just love that and just love where we are, relax and release and let it go. And then that gives you the power, the strength of character to take care of whatever else is going in front of you right now, to be a better, more settled in your decision making if you're having to make big decisions right now.
Exactly. And what I didn't realize is as I look back, I was being led for many years. And when I listened and paid attention and went with the flow, right, things align and you learn the lessons and people come in and go out that need to, and it all kind of ties in together. So here I am allowing, and I decide I'm keeping myself stuck because I didn't have a college degree. How can I compete out there? How can I, I'm inspired but then I'm kind of blocking myself at the same time. I'm going back and forth. So my dear good friend who's now passed away and an angel, she said, Lauren, she goes, I grant you a PhD. Teresa Huggins, she goes, I grant you a PhD. You have passion, heart, and determination. And that has brought you to where you are. So don't think that you don't have something to offer, So I've always kind of carried that with me. And
that's an amazing acronym, because I believe that a lot of people with degrees don't use them, and they, probably in debt or whatever. But passion, heart, and desire, was
determination.
Yeah. Determination. Yeah. So I don't have a degree. I was just a flight attendant. That's what I called myself for a lot of years, just a flight attendant, until somebody kind of slapped me in the face and goes, "Hey, I don't want to ever hear you say that again." I was like, "Oh, well, because I was an amazing flight attendant, an award-winning flight attendant. It's your language and it's your self-talk."
Yes.
And so,
and isn't it interesting how we label it? It's easy for us to label ourselves with negative labels, and it's so difficult. We make it difficult to label ourselves with positive labels.
Well, it was like I was just a flight attendant. No, so I didn't have a degree. That's the reason I would say it that way. But I didn't need a degree for that job. I needed heart and passion and determination for that job.
Exactly. And you had that, right? But we don't acknowledge our strengths, because I think most of us were brought up, or somehow we created this belief that, well, that's ego. And that's bragging. And I had a very wise man say to me, he said, it's not bragging if you did it. And I thought, I love that. And
so we've been taught to be self-deprecating, and it's not self-serving to do that. And, we think self-care even is selfish, but selfish is taking care of self. Self-centered's another story. So, it's out there. But when we can walk in our accomplishments and
I like how you put that,
feel good about ourselves with them, and it's, I don't want to brag. I don't want arrogance. I want authenticity more than anything. And we did do it. And we have been there, done that. With me, I earned every one of these silver hairs the hard way. So, right?
Yes. And with that, so I said, what's the minimum I need? Because I'm really overthinking all of this. And it was actually my younger son, as he was graduating college and heading off to California for his first big job. Because I traveled so much, I'm in this tiny apartment, no TV, and I have my goal sheets all over the walls, and personal, career, all this stuff. And he goes, so when the hell are you going to do something with all this? And I thought, there's my son feeding me humble pie. Like that
from the mouth of babes, in a way, right?
Be careful what you teach your kids, right? And then he said, you're not happy here. When are you going to move? Why don't you just move? And I said, well, if I knew where I wanted to go, I'd just go. So that's when I realized I was overthinking it. So I thought, what's the minimum I need? I need to be warm, and I need to make more money. Everything else is figure outable. And if I don't like where I land, I can move again. So I applied within my company to only warm states. I had a great interview in Houston, and I applied to all these other warm states, and Dallas calls me, and it's the recruiter. So he can't offer me a job. He can just pass me through the process. And he says, hey, I heard you applied for a job in Dallas. And I said, no, I'm sorry, there wasn't one posted, or else I would have, but I'm open to having a conversation. I applied to Houston. He goes, oh, you didn't get it. No fault of your own, but do you want to talk about this later on this afternoon, this Dallas position? And I thought, well, that's a way to let me know. Let me down gently. But okay. So we set a time, and I swear I hung up the phone, and I had this feeling come over me that was like, Lauren, if you want this, it's yours. Now, I hadn't even met the manager. I hadn't gone through interviews, but I had to say yes to God. I had to be open and just place everything in his hands, that he knew what was best for me. Right. And so, but if I said no, this process is going to be shut down pretty quick. So the process started, That night, after talking to him, I went to Walmart and I bought boxes. I bought packing tape. I bought bubble wrap. I said, I'm going somewhere. I'm ready. I'm showing God in the universe. I'm ready. It was during COVID. Nobody's coming to visit me and I'm never home anyway. So I'm going to start packing everything I don't use, which is just about everything except my clothes, because I'm not home cooking. I'm not entertaining. I'm not. So I started packing in like September, I think it was August, September. Then all of a sudden, I start getting sick. I have all these weird symptoms. And now I'm emailing my doctor every day. Oh my gosh, this is going on. Oh my gosh, that's going on. I could smell, I'd walk in a grocery store. The smells were so pungent. So I knew I didn't have COVID. My hearing, I used to be able to listen to loud music in the car. I can't do that anymore. By 6 o'clock, I'm exhausted, ready to fall on the floor, where normally I'm up till 1 o'clock in the morning. So she orders a bunch of blood work, including a Lyme test for Lyme disease. About a week later, I get a call. Lauren, you're positive for Lyme disease. Now I'm on the road. My body's tingling everywhere. All these crazy symptoms are going on. And I have to drive 5 hours to Connecticut on a Monday, drive home 5 hours. And it was just brutal. And so she said, I called in the medication. The next day, no, 2 hours later, I get a text from the manager in Dallas saying, hey, I'd love to interview you. You available tomorrow? I feel like death. It's going to be a video call. I had to get it together and look presentable. A half-hour call that was an hour and a half. I knew the moment I spoke to this man, I said, he's a leader. He's a leader. I want to work for him. I can learn, I can grow, and I'm open to what's ever available to me. Then I had an interview. Arizona calls me. Great woman, great leader. And I thought, she's a great leader. I want to work for her too. What do I do? I don't, if I had to choose, if I was offered both, what would I do? And I said, God, I'm leaving it in your hands. You choose, you send me where I'm meant to be. That's where I'll go. And Charla, when I tell you, everything just lined up. Ding, 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 ding. Like I couldn't plan this. I couldn't predict it. Everything. Now, during the Lyme disease, I went through, oh my God, I think I'm going to die. I hope I get better. Some people, and I'd have people say, oh my gosh, that's terrible. You're going to have this forever. And I said, nope, not my story. That's somebody else's story. My doctor found it immediately. We caught it soon enough. So that's not my story. I had somebody say to me, you know, this antibiotic's pretty hefty. You're going to get sicker from the antibiotic, this die-off effect with the Lyme disease. You're going to feel like you're dying on that. I said, nope, not my story, because that doesn't happen to 100% of the people. And believe me, I would go back and forth from, I think I'm going to die, to nope, there's no way God just put all this in front of me to not have me move forward. So there was a lot of talking to myself, a lot of praying, and a lot of, God, I'm just leaving it in your hands. You know what's best. You have a plan that's better than my plan. And I'm just ready. I just want what's meant for me. If it's not meant for me, I don't want it. And I stick by that with relationships, with personal relationships, with friendships, with careers, with everything. If it's not meant for me, I don't want it, even though I might think. So now I've been here coming up on 3 years. I've met the most incredible people along the way. When I moved here, it was really interesting because, right before I moved here, so I ended up getting COVID and I thought, what in the world's going on here? But then I came here, and about 2 months after being here, working from home, training because everything was kind of shut down, I couldn't breathe. And I thought, there's no way God brought me here to die and not breathe in Texas all alone. Because my lungs were sensitive from COVID, I was in a brand new apartment, paint. I was inhaling paint 24 hours a day. I was inhaling brand new carpet, brand new, flooring, all this stuff. So I overcame that. And so those were really the only the challenges and getting acclimated to my new position and all that. But I've had the best bosses. I've had the best team. I've met the best people in friendships. And so now it was time for me to get back to my personal goals, where I was doing personal development trainings back in the Northeast when I lived there. So now it was time to get back to that. So I created Easy Success Strategies to help teach people how to own their greatness. Because we forget, just like we were talking about, you become humble. You want to be humble. But sometimes we make ourselves small in the process. So how can I teach people how to own their greatness? And I just love doing that. I love being their mirror. They're the hero of their own story. But how can I give you hope? How can I inspire you? How can I empower you with what I've learned? And, so many people, especially women, think that I don't deserve a seat at the table. I didn't think I deserved a seat at the table. Well, I'm here to give you your ticket for your seat at the table. And it's okay if you don't really feel like you belong there, want to be there, you can create your own table too. We have that option. There's so many options, right? So
I've gotten chills. So many, I call them God bumps, or, and by the way, anybody listening, when we're talking about God and laying at his feet, this is not religion. This is relationship. This is authority. This is our God within. And love, religion a lot of times keeps us very boxed in. So this is about relationship, not religion. And I tend to try to just say that in case people are really concerned.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how I would ever act if I didn't have that stability in my life of my faith, bold faith.
Right. And everybody's faith is different. And we might have different faiths, and we might call God, the universe, whatever resonates with you. Just know that there's something greater than just you, and you're always being led. And sometimes we need to listen. It's like being in a conversation over coffee with a friend. Sometimes we just need to listen and hear.
Often we're talking too much. Often we're praying, and praying a lot of times is begging. And I'm sorry, but effective prayer isn't begging. Effective prayer typically is thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And, Jesus like, thank you, get up and walk. It's not begging. And I feel like I was taught differently than that. And you see my little crown here. I've got my little crown here because I, have chosen to step into a more defined, regal, the queen instead of the princess. And things. I think it's so interesting to me that the people that I'm attracting that are showing up for my show were all just wanting to just love people. And I have a saying, the harder they are to love, the more they need it. We just want to love them.
True.
And just, give them grace. May you be blessed at the very least is the best thing. A master is one who blesses. So we are here to give hope. You've gone through some really bad stuff. I don't know anybody who hasn't, but you're an overcomer. You offer hope. You found a way. You've got a success system now that you're sharing. And so, how do people find you, and how do people find you?
So I have a website, easysuccessstrategies.com. You can also email me at hello@easysuccessstrategies.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. However, on Instagram, I'm not as active, but my son tells me because, Facebook's for older people. That's why I'm there. Probably true. He's not. He's right a lot of the time. I'm
on Facebook more too. And it's because I don't want to learn a new thing. We got familiar with that, right? And so I think a lot of us have kind of stuck with that because that's where the people we've hung out with, our high school reunion people are there, So it's a dynamic, and everything is evolving on that line. So You have a quote from Wayne Dyer, and actually you've got two quotes that
I
you
have a few quotes.
shared
So
with
one of the
me.
quotes from Wayne Dyer is, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change, which is true. If you listen to neuroscientists and the brain, some people will say, "Oh, I've always been like this. This is just who I am." Well, that might be true. If you would like more fulfillment and more peace and more happiness and be a little more relaxed, if you change the way you look at things, right? Like, if you live here in Dallas area, go on 75 any morning. It's usually traffic jams. But I know this. And, if I hit a traffic jam, I'm prepared. I can catch up on phone calls. I can listen to podcasts, music, whatever. And guess what? There's many a times during these traffic jams that now I'm smooth sailing, and it's a gift. It's all a gift. I try to, so I do my best to look at every day with curiosity and look forward to the unfolding and not have everything so planned and everything so controlled. Yes, you need goals. Yes, dreams. Yes, we have to schedule dinner with friends. However, I look forward to the unfolding. It's like my birthday. It's like Christmas morning or your birthday. What's going to happen to me today? What am I going to get today? Not only that, what am I going to give? Who am I going to meet that might need my smile? Who can I be kind to? Who can I do something for? What can I do for somebody else to make somebody else's day or life better? Because we never know what somebody's going through. Even, I'm going to tell you, you probably have a best friend that you didn't know was depressed at some time or very sad. You didn't know the magnitude because they didn't share it. You just never know what anybody's really going through inside. And how can we be kinder and just give, like you said, give people grace? Now, with that, I'm also going to say, know your values, know what's important to you. And sometimes we outgrow people and situations, and it's not good or bad. It's just not aligned anymore. It's not aligned with who I am today.
So my saying, the little book here, Candy Bar Hugs, it says we have in there unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, not unconditional boundaries. Right. So that we're not talking about, when the harder people are loved, the more they need it. They may just need it from a distance, but you can always send that love and just release and lay it down and just, I got the word, don't strive so hard, just be. And when I started doing that was several years ago. And I'm like, what does that mean? But it's a muscle. It's a muscle, and you can just relax and let it be and let life come at you like you're talking about. Just let it come. And, we talked about listening. So I think we talked about prayer. Prayer is, we're asking and talking and thanking. Meditation is listening, right? So it takes a moment to be still and know.
Florence Scovel Shinn, who is a metaphysicist, she said, prayer is you telephoning to God, and your intuition is God telephoning to you. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And I always listen to my intuition. I might not understand it. Have you ever thought, oh, I should go here? I don't know. I'm going to stop off at this store. Maybe you found a bargain. Maybe you met somebody that just needed to see your smile. Who knows? But things like that. Look back. Look at the way you've been divinely guided. And boundaries, I realized I had boundaries in a lot of areas. I didn't have boundaries with my friends and people close to me because I was attached to my phone all the time. If you called me or texted me, it didn't matter what I was doing. If it was in my hand, I'm responding to you. I became exhausted. I was so exhausted and I didn't know why. And then I realized I'm always on. Tone this down. And there were times I had friendships, long-term friendships, and some short-term friendships, but the long-term ones that we were no longer aligned. And I stayed in the friendship out of obligation. Like, well, we've been friends for 20 years. And well, no, when you lie to me. So now if somebody lies to me, I'm like, I'm really sorry, but
That doesn't work for me. That
you
just
lied to
doesn't
me.
work for me.
And I just, I'm sorry, but I can't be friends with you. I had to say that. I said that to somebody. I said, I'm sorry, but you were so comfortable to lie to me that I just can't be friends with you anymore. Maybe that wasn't the right thing to say or the right way, but I wasn't screaming or yelling or belligerent. I just thought, this just isn't working for me now.
Well, good for you, because when we give ourselves permission to speak our truth and speak up, I mean, maybe nobody had ever really told them that to their face, and maybe it was like, whoo.
I allowed myself to be a doormat, and I years ago, and I just won't do it anymore. I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but
and avoid conflict for sure.
Yes. Yes. And you just hold it all in, but then you harbor resentment, contempt, all these negative feelings. And I just said, my peace, once I found peace, I will do anything to protect my peace. And there's so many people in the world. Look, the next time you go to an event, look at all the people in a restaurant. That's only a small section of people, right? There's so many people waiting to receive your light and for you to receive their light. So, and each time, so be intentional, know your values, what's important to you, and then define to yourself, be clear about what you want. I did this too. I'm like, okay, I would like more goal-centered, positive friendships that I can talk. I had some great friends, and I still do, where they would say, Lord, no, so what are you doing now? Oh, I'm creating this great program to help empower people. And they'd go, oh, okay. And then they'd start talking about politics again. And not that that's good or bad, but I felt like I can't join in that conversation because that's not where I'm at. So I just don't spend as much time with those people, because I needed more people where I could talk about my goals and dreams and what's important to me. And sure enough, I'm out to dinner with a friend. We coordinated a big dinner, invited all these people. Right there, I met 8 new friends, one of which she's one of my best friends. And the other 2 I'm very close with. And it's like this. When you want steak for dinner and you want to go to your favorite steakhouse, usually what we do is we don't eat that much that day because we want to just really enjoy this steak dinner. So on your way, now you're starving. So you're on your way to the restaurant, you're excited. You pass a Chinese food restaurant, you pass an Italian restaurant, you pass a Mexican restaurant. Are you going to stop at any one of those? No, because you're clear you want steak. So if you start doing that with everything in your life, get clear. It's not magic. When we talk about law of attraction, things don't just show up. What's in your awareness, you start to notice these are things that were always there. If you've ever had kids, if you were pregnant, the world was pregnant when you were pregnant. If you had a newborn baby in your arms, you see newborn babies everywhere. When you get a new car, whether it's brand new or new to you, you suddenly see this car everywhere. They didn't just mass produce it. It's just that's what's in your awareness. So why not call things into your awareness that you want and desire? Get clear on who you are, what you want. And here's the other thing. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he has a quote that says something like, he says it better than I do because it's his quote, but are you more invested in your past or are you more invested in your future? And how often when we're with friends do we talk about our past? Oh, let me tell you about my ex and what he did to me. And let me tell you about that terrible boss. It brings you back to those negative feelings, those negative situations, and it puts your energy and your vibration in this negative area. Why not talk about your goals, your dreams? When you do that, it raises your vibration and you're coming from a place of excitement. And that's when you start attracting, right? You start attracting different situations, different people. And so those are some quick small tips. Get clear, know your values, have some boundaries. Boundary Boss by Terry Cole is a good book. Also, you can find her on YouTube and listen. I started listening to her and I was blown away. I thought I had boundaries. I was clearly wrong. Some of my other favorite books, Ivan Misner, Who's in Your Room, talks about people who come into your life. Even if we don't associate with them, they kind of stay in our life. So how do we mitigate all that? Another book and series is the Go Giver series by Bob Berg and John David Mann. Here's the other thing. Ask for what you want. The question never asked is always a no. Last month, I was in Florida. Heading to Florida, I reached out to Bob Berg, one of the authors of The Go Giver. I said, hey, Bob, I'm going to be near you. Wondering if you're willing to meet up for a cup of coffee or a bite to eat. So we met for breakfast.
And he said yes?
He said yes.
It cut that part cut out. And I was like,
I'm
said
sorry,
yes.
He said yes. And we had breakfast. If I didn't ask, if I said, oh, he's never going to say yes, he's too busy, how would I ever know? And if he did say no, for whatever reason, I wasn't any worse off than I already was, right? Like I still wasn't having breakfast with him. So Go Giver book and series is a great book. These are
all these books. So many of them are, we're on the same path with all of this. So good for you meeting Bob Berg. I met him years and decades ago
that's exciting.
Yeah, but along with Brian, I've met a lot of these folks because I show up and go, and I'm not afraid to say, hey, I'm, Charla. So, look, this time goes so fast. It's already 43 minutes after the hour. We only have a few more minutes. So one more time, how they find you. Lauren Fisher is at easysuccessstrategies.com and hello at Easy Success Strategies.
Yes.
And I there may be some people. This is something I love about Win Win Women. We can actually have a community and conversation. And if anyone is on, I can't really tell right now. But if anybody's on and wants to unmute and make a comment, would love to hear that. And any last word, Lauren?
I would just say, own your greatness. You are more than you think, and there is more available to you than you think. And it's just about peace, fulfillment. I mean, well, what matters to you? If you're not sure, well, geez, I have so many values. Where do I start? Go online, print out a values list. Just do Google value list. Print it out and look and circle the ones that mean the most to you. And if you're still confused and don't know where to start, what areas of your life are you most uncomfortable? Because we change when we're uncomfortable. We don't change. We don't say, oh, I just love my hair. I'm going to cut it all off. You know what? I love this pink color in this room. I think I'm going to change it. We change when we're uncomfortable. That's when we seek something else, something different. So is it finances? Is it career? Is it friendships? Is it relationships? Is it just your inner self? So that's where you can start. Where are you most uncomfortable?
And there is a real cheat sheet for finding your values. Look at what we used to call checkbook and calendar. So now look at how you spend your money and where you spend your time. I've noticed that there's an awful lot of people that entertainment has become their highest value. What can I play? What can I eat? All that kind of stuff has become a very high value. So be aware of your values is huge. And that's a kind of a cheat sheet way to figure that out. Where you're spending your time and money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. Because I'll tell you, for me, I'm single and I'm really not interested in cooking very much. It doesn't taste good when I'm done. I do go out to eat with friends a lot. It's like, hey, let's go to dinner. I wish I loved. I just. Well, that's a
twofer. So when I'm talking about eating, that is also building, you're not going to be going to places to eat with people that you are not aligned with, at least
Exactly.
not often. So to me, that's a win-win. If you've got the means to do that, by all means do it. To me, it's a win-win on that.
Yes. So I would say just start small. I know we talk about SMART goals and big audacious goals, but let's start small and let's celebrate our accomplishments.
That's a biggie right there. Acknowledge and celebrating our, something, because we're always on to the next thing. To me, I'm like, oh, I've just finished my book. I'm going to go now. What I'm going to do? I got this and this and this. And it's not like, whoa, Jim Rohn is always like, capture that moment and celebrate it. So I'm talking to me here when I say,
well, you said something earlier that I love, and I force myself to do this every now and again, is just be. You can just be. Sometimes I've been where I'm just like, I just need to be. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to think about anything. Maybe I need to just go to bed early. I just need to be and just absorb, like just be here. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to make a decision.
Because things are when you release it, it allows things to come to you that are, and a lot of times you're like, I want to live in this place or better. I mean, I have a vision of where I'm going to live, and I will always end with saying, thank you for this place that's on its way or something better. So, we know that it's coming. We just know that it's coming. So, I know we had a couple of people pop in. So
we did. I think they had to go. It's the middle of the day too. So, but
I'm glad that they did. And we will have the replay up. You'll get it this afternoon or tomorrow. And, from the Vimeo, and then it's going to be on the podcast coming out, I think, in November. So this is a perfect time. It's a beautiful weather in this area for the first, aren't you loving fall in Dallas right now? It's so beautiful. And so we're gonna go ahead and close it out today. I just want you to know that you're beautiful, who and where you are, no matter who or where you are loved. You are loved, and you cannot do anything to be loved more or less by God, by me. Just take that and receive it. And so as we close out, thank you so much for joining me today, Lauren. And I'm grateful. Can't wait to, 3 years we were talking about before you even moved here, and we still haven't just gotten together, but I think that's imminent. So we're going to have to just make it work. And I love your enthusiasm. I love that you've changed, you transitioned, and you we're very similar in mindset. Mindset is what we're talking about here. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone who takes the time to listen to us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll be here every Wednesday on the Charla Anderson Show. Please join us live or on the replays. And my name means joy in Greek. So I'm going to always end by saying, choose joy.
Choose joy.
Parting is such sweet sorrow. The Charla Anderson Show, encouraging you to stand strong and courageous with bold faith, no fear, immense hope, kindness, and love, especially towards yourself. Visit charlaanderson.com for replays, blogs, and more on her ever-expanding website, as well as watch her live TV show on winwinwomen.tv, Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And so that we can continue learning together and growing this community of beautiful souls, we invite you to share the Charla Anderson Show with your circle of friends. Until we meet again next week, remember always, choose joy.